To the Bandano Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. There's no CBA deal. The players don't want to agree to what the owners are proposing. Perfect. Grab Asia Wilson, grab Sabrina, grab Sophie, grab the superstar, the main attraction, Caitlin Clark, and let's start this league.
This isn't hype or a clickbait claim. It's a real proposal under discussion. With the WNBA and Players Association deadlocked over a collective bargaining agreement, the league has officially put all business on pause. Free agency is frozen, contract talks are on hold, and tensions between owners and players have grown so sharp that some are seriously considering the unthinkable. Tear it all down and start over.
Wouldn't notice the difference. Nobody would say to themselves, oh wow, the talent has really dropped off this year. Nobody's going to be saying that. In fact, they'll be saying, wow, it's real calm this season. There's not so much complaining and whining going on this season. Start fresh with players that deserve money and with players that can push.
Here's why this moment is so critical. The previous CBA expired last Friday, and the two sides couldn't agree on an extension. That has left the league in status quo. Technically, the old rules remain, but no real business can happen. Teams were ready to extend qualifying offers to free agents, but players refused to sign while a new salary structure, including major pay increases, is still being negotiated. Right now, 84 of the league's 86 veterans are free agents, all waiting for a new agreement before committing. The biggest sticking point? Revenue sharing. Owners have proposed increasing the player share from 9% to 15%, while players are demanding 30% before expenses. That difference amounts to hundreds of millions of dollars over the life of the deal.
Know what you guys think in the comments section below. Like the video and subscribe. These players are so committed to the downfall of their own league. They've tried forever to get noticed by the mainstream. In comes Caitlin Clark. Finally, they get noticed. They've tried so long to get paid what they think that they're owed. In comes Caitlin Clark. Owners actually see someone that can make them dollar signs and they say, you know what?
Here's what shifted the balance of power. For 27 years, the WNBA ran at a loss. Attendance was modest, TV ratings barely registered, and corporate sponsorships were minimal. The league survived largely because NBA owners subsidized it, treating it as a long-term investment in growing the game. Everything changed in April 2024 when Caitlin Clark arrived. The Indiana Fever went from averaging 4,670 fans per home game in 2023 to selling out every arena. Road games turned into de facto sellouts, too. Television viewership skyrocketed, like the July 2nd matchup against the Las Vegas Aces, which drew 2.3 million viewers on ESPN, the most-watched WNBA game in 23 years. Suddenly, corporate sponsors who had ignored women's basketball were eager to join, with Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, and Wilson signing major deals.
Players believe that they're entitled to more money. The old guard fans have brainwashed them into thinking that they are entitled into more.
This is where the tension really begins. Owners saw the numbers and realized something they'd never experienced before: actual profitability. Right now, not years down the line. That changed the negotiation landscape. Suddenly, they were willing to offer far more than ever before. Maximum contracts over $1 million. Average salaries above $500,000. Minimum salaries at $250,000, charter flights for all teams, better hotels, and enhanced benefits across the board. By comparison, the average WNBA salary in 2023 was about $113,000. The owner's proposal would more than quadruple that.
And Women's National Basketball Players Association have reached an agreement on a moratorium for league business, sources told ESPN on Monday. The moratorium is necessary because the sides failed to reach an agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement or an extension of the previous one by Friday's deadline. The sides continue to negotiate on a new CBA amid what's become a bitter impasse as they work toward what both sides acknowledge will be a transformative deal. They remain far apart on several key issues, including chiefly what a revenue sharing system should look like. Now, is it really bitter on the owner side? Probably not. They think they're going above and beyond with some of the things that they're willing to give them.
Here's the Players Association's argument. They say the revenue projections rely almost entirely on Caitlin Clark's drawing power. If one player is generating that much value, they argue the entire player pool deserves a bigger share since the league markets them as a collective product. They point to other leagues. The NBA gives players 50% of basketball-related income, and the NWSL negotiated up to 50%. They ask why WNBA players should settle for 15% when athletes in other major leagues get at least 40%. The owners push back, saying the WNBA still faces significant overhead costs, expansion fees, new arenas, and infrastructure investments. They argue that giving players 30% of revenue before expenses would bankrupt many teams, especially smaller market franchises without a superstar like Clark.
Players are bitter because they think that they're owed something that they haven't earned. The players are bitter. The players have things to lose. Well, not all of the players, but the players in the negotiating rooms, Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. They would love it if WNBA folds. Unrivaled gets some players. Maybe that league turns to 5-on-5. They already see a future for Unrivaled. Breanna Stewart earlier this weekend said, oh man, after it's so hard to compartmentalize. I mean, after the games, then I gotta go and take emails and phone calls and take places on this and take places on that. Wouldn't it just be easier if that league didn't exist anymore? That's what she's saying to herself.
The tension isn't just about money. It's personal. Players Association President Nanika Aguim and Vice President Breanna Stewart have spoken out on social media, saying the owner's offer is disrespectful and continues a long history of undervaluing WNBA athletes. Several veterans have suggested the owners are trying to profit from Caitlin Clark's popularity without properly compensating the players who laid the groundwork for her success. On the other side, ownership sources have told reporters they feel the players are negotiating in bad faith, making demands they know aren't feasible. Some privately point to financial interests in rival leagues, noting that Stewart co-founded Unrivaled, a new 3-on-3 league offering top players much higher pay for a shorter season. Some owners even wonder if Stewart wants the WNBA to falter so Unrivaled can become the premier women's basketball league.
Increases in compensation is still being bargained. All but 2 of the league's veterans and free agents this offseason in anticipation of a new CBA. The moratorium will halt those initial stages of free agency in which teams would seek to deliver qualifying offers and core designations to players. Just start fresh. Just start fresh. Call up Caitlin Clark and say, hey, Cece, we're moving on. You want to play in the WNBA? You could be our first player. Call Sophie. Hey, Sophie, you want to come play in the WNBA? You'll be our first player. What are the steps to just tear that up and start new? Seriously, fans won't care. Let me rephrase. The fans that actually move the needle won't care.
The moratorium is a big deal. Normally, free agency would have opened on January 21st, with teams making offers and players signing contracts. Instead, everything is frozen. The Chicago Sky can't negotiate with free agents, and the Los Angeles Sparks can't extend qualifying offers. Players hoping to switch teams are stuck in limbo. The timing makes this even more urgent. Training camps are scheduled for early May, with the season tipping off the same month. If there's no CBA agreement by mid-March, teams won't have enough time to build rosters. If talks drag into April, the season itself could be at risk. The League and Players Association did agree to extend the moratorium, keeping negotiations alive. But sources on both sides say talks remain tense and unproductive, with little movement in the past week.
At this point, many of those folks are saying, just lock them out. End this nonsense. Shut this league down. We are officially at the point where this bargaining and negotiating, it's turned into a pileup on the side of the road that people are now paying attention to. They don't really have an invested interest in it. They're just paying attention to because it's a pileup on the side of the road. This league is it's losing steam. It's losing steam by the day. If interest levels were here when Caitlin Clark got here, dude, they're here. They might even be off the screen now. If interest levels were here when Caitlin Clark arrived, they've fallen off so fast. People don't even want to watch anything that doesn't have to do with Caitlin Clark. No one cares about Unrivaled. No one cared about the playoffs. No one cared about the finals. Oh, but the ratings. Yeah, but the ratings were inflated. Nobody paid attention. You look at Caitlin Clark games, you look at Indiana Fever games, and you look at non-Caitlin Clark games. There it is. Said it. Right there. This league has lost momentum, and it's all because of the players. Unwillingness to negotiate. Unwillingness to compromise. The owners have done their part. And as far as I'm concerned, move on without the old guard. Hire whatever attorney you can to make that possible and just do it. If not, shut it down.
Let's take a serious look at the so-called nuclear option, because it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. In professional sports, the legal framework exists. If negotiations break down, management can declare an impasse and implement their last best offer. Players can strike, owners can lock them out, and if the union refuses the terms, teams can hire replacement players. It's happened before. The NFL in 1997, when owners brought in substitutes for 3 weeks during a player's strike, and MLB in 1995, when replacement players were used during spring training until a court injunction stopped it. Could it happen in the WNBA? Theoretically, yes. The league could offer stars like Caitlin Clark, Sabrina Ionescu, and Paige Bucher's top-dollar contracts, then fill the rest of the rosters with replacement players, overseas pros, former college stars who didn't make WNBA rosters, or others willing to cross the picket line. Fans would notice a drop in talent, no question, but owners might be betting that casual viewers, drawn in by Clark and other stars, don't care as much about the supporting players. Ratings from games where key Fever players were injured suggest that may be true. Viewership stayed high as long as marquee players were on the court. Long-term, though, this strategy would almost certainly fail. It would create a PR nightmare, invite unfair labor practice charges, risk sponsor pullouts, and anger fans who care about the integrity of the league. While it's a legal option, the consequences could be severe and lasting. In the short term, the nuclear option could serve as serious leverage. Just the threat of replacement players might push the Players Association to consider a more realistic proposal. If ownership can credibly show they're willing to operate without agreeing to 30% revenue sharing, it changes the entire negotiation dynamic. The uncomfortable truth is that leverage isn't evenly distributed. The Players Association may act like it has equal bargaining power, but it doesn't. 5 players likely drive 75% of the league's revenue growth. The other 95 have far less individual influence. Caitlin Clark or Breanna Stewart could walk away and earn more in Unrivaled or overseas. But role players making minimum salary need the WNBA far more than it needs them. That economic reality is brutal, and it's why some observers think the union may have overplayed by demanding 30%. If owners call that bluff and stick to 15%, the question becomes, what's the union's next move? Lock themselves out of the only major professional women's basketball league in North America? Momentum built in 2024 is already fading. Playoff viewership didn't match the regular season's excitement. And while Unrivaled is attracting attention, it's nothing near what the WNBA generated. The longer negotiations drag on, the more casual fans drift away. Every week without a deal risks losing fan interest. every month without games risk sponsors questioning their investment. The stakes are clear. Do the players compromise closer to the owner's offer and secure generational wealth for the next decade? Or hold firm on 30% and risk a work stoppage that could undo everything the league has built? This isn't just about money. It's about whether the WNBA can survive as a viable business. Right now, with no CBA, frozen free agency, and no clear path forward, that answer looks uncertain. The league that finally broke through to mainstream America could be on the verge of breaking itself.